All right, so welcome to another episode of my Leveraging Your Voice podcast. You can see we have another special guest with us today, Henry. Henry, why don't you introduce yourself? What state are you in too? Just let us know where you're at as you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm in Los Angeles. Nice and sunny outside.
Awesome. It's raining here in Michigan. We're still waiting
Oh,
for summer to appear.
I hope it comes by soon.
I hope so too. All right, so Henry, you are a dentist, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So, folks, today we have our first dentist on the Leveraging Your Voice podcast, and I'm really excited about that. I'm your host, Paul Rakowitz, and I help people take their voice and make it their greatest asset in my vocal coaching programs. And if that's of interest to you, you can find me at prvocalcoaching.com. But today it's all about Henry and all the work you do. First, give us a little background. As a dentist, you must have gone to school somewhere, opened up a practice. How long have you been in practice after finishing school?
Well, I graduated in 2019, and so shortly after, about a year after, I went into practice. So now about 5 years.
Okay. Now, I saw a couple hats behind you. Are those from your school of choice?
Yeah, UCLA Dental School.
Awesome. Now, UCLA, is that the UCLA Bruins?
That is?
Oh, look at that. I only know that from football games.
Yeah.
Great. Great. All right. So you graduated there, opened up your practice, and now you have a thriving practice after just 5 years, which is very good. But as you were going, one of the things that happened is you created a new product. And why don't you just introduce us to that new product that you created? Because I know today we don't want to talk about dentistry. Nobody wants us to talk about cleaning teeth. But you do have this product that I think people are going to be very interested in. So I wanted to jump right into that. So why don't you introduce us to that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So before I jump right into it, I want to explain a little bit about what's happening in the world and how I came across this product.
Awesome.
So a lot of people in the world don't talk about sleep. They don't talk about sleep with their doctors. They don't talk about sleep in their family. Most people just go about their days saying they're stressed out or they have poor sleep or they're tired and they need coffee. And so sleep is like the last thing people talk about. And sadly enough, I had a sleep problem that nobody wanted to talk to me about. And so I went around, asked doctors about it, asked medical professionals left and right, endocrinology, neurology, cardiology, went through the whole nine, and I couldn't figure it out. As long as I could remember, I've always been tired all the time. So I would be falling asleep in school, falling asleep in middle school, high school, college. Was one of those hardworking kids that got through a lot of the hard classes, but just because I just grinded a lot, I would always be falling asleep and felt like I was never enough. So it's really amazing how poor sleep can affect even little kids. And me in my youth, I had no problems with me. I don't have any weight gain. I don't have any heart issues, and it was still affecting me. So I started discovering, all right, like what's going on? And I started going to conferences, went out to Stanford, went out to the Mayo Clinic, really went all over the place and started discovering that I have this thing called sleep apnea, and it runs in my family. And then when I started looking back at it, and I started like thinking about it a little bit more, I found out that I had actually been pretty deeply intertwined in the sleep apnea world because when I was 6 years old, I I was involved in a car crash. My dad had fallen asleep at the wheel and crashed into the railings driving on the rail on the highway. And ever since that moment, I remember it was like, wow, like this must be so unfortunate. Like, how could that happen? Right. And so it was pretty bad because I got into a coma for 2 weeks, and my dad was the only one that was not injured. My mom injured her spine so badly that she wasn't able to work for the next 2 years. And so coming from a pretty poor immigrant family, that was very devastating, incredibly devastating. And so from that point onwards, I was like, wow, like something is up with us. Like my dad would always come home, he would snore, and I would look at him and be like, well, Dad, so hardworking dad. And that's what hardworking dads look like. They snore. And he would always need to sleep after work. And he would never want to drive long distance because he just didn't have the energy for it. He was always afraid ever since that event. And I thought it was just because he was scared of doing it, but he was actually always just tired. And just many years later, many years later, after that incident, really started finding out that we all have sleep apnea in my family. Though I have very little, I have a little bit. And so I started discovering, wow, if I have sleep apnea, then other people might have it too. And it just so happens that dentists can actually create a little mouthpiece that goes in the mouth. And through this adjustable mouthpiece, we're able to stretch open the airway to open up the airway. I think maybe I didn't describe why we designed this thing. You know, the sleep apnea is a problem of breathing, where some people genetically or through weight gain, they have an obstruction in their airway down here. And because of that obstruction, their oxygen drops throughout the night. Some people might say that some people might stop breathing in the middle of the night. That's one of the signs. And because you're not breathing in the middle of the night, you're not getting the deep rest that you're supposed to have. And so when you wake up, you're tired, groggy, or you may start to develop diseases like diabetes, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, strokes, Alzheimer's, dementia, and a whole host of other issues that have so much to do with sleep, like depression and ADHD. So sleep is so important for our health, and so I really see that there's so much that we can do for people, especially because now you don't need to use a CPAP machine. It's like for a very long time, all the medical doctors had as an option to treat this was a CPAP machine. And so many people don't like the CPAP machine. I was prescribed a CPAP machine when I was 27 years old when we discovered that I had sleep apnea. So imagine that. I brought home this machine and my girlfriend looked at it like, what is going on? That was unbelievable. So I couldn't use the machine. I was like, I'm gonna just deal with the sleepiness. I couldn't use the machine.
Mm. Well, that's quite a story that gives us a little history about what got you into this. And it goes all the way back to you being 6 years old and your dad having that accident from the sleep disorder causing him to fall asleep in the car and crash into the railing.
Yeah,
I'm glad you all guys survived that, but it
yeah.
certainly had an impact on everyone. And really, that one event changed your life.
Changed my life.
Changed your life. And talk a little bit here. When did you decide that you wanted to create something this what do you call it, this piece that you put in your mouth? What do you call that?
We call it a sleep guard.
Okay, when did you decide, you know what, CPAC and all these other things, I'm going to step into this field and create something that I think will help people, this sleep guard. When did you decide that? How did that decision come out?
So I was doing all right in dentistry, and and I was like, huh, should I take the leap into this? And I remember one night having discovered that I can make these mouthpieces. And it wasn't the best mouthpiece back then. It was like 2.5 years ago. And it was bulky and I was afraid because nobody else was doing it in the city. Very few people were doing it. And so I was like, well, is this really going to stick? You know, do people want this thing? And I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, we you know, this you know, I had a vision. I had a dream almost, and I saw a world where people got to sleep more, but not only because they have this mouthpiece, but because they're also supported in a lot of the other arenas that help people get better sleep. And I didn't see that opportunity out there. I saw doctors doing doctor stuff. I saw therapists doing therapy stuff. And then I saw Eastern medicine doctors doing their own thing, and they're none of them are talking to each other. And so that's something interesting in the traditional medicine model right now. There's the traditional hospital medicine, and then there's therapy and the psychology things of things, and usually the MDs don't really care too much or talk about the mindset of things. And then you have the Eastern medicine and the nutrition. Those things aren't very well talked about either. And all of those areas correlate to how well we sleep and the quality of our sleep so much. And so after having gone to multiple conferences, finding out more and more about what it takes to get good sleep and all the different disciplines that it requires to get us a really good night's rest, I decided, well, if I'm going to make something, I'm going to make something that encompasses the whole. And at that time, I didn't think it was gonna be so hard to put it all together. And I was like, well, how hard can it be? I think it would be fun, and I think it would make a huge difference in the world. Something not like it ever made before. And there you go. I decided to just get started, and here we are many years later.
That, how many years ago did you make that decision to get started?
2.5 years ago.
Okay. All right. Now, you created the sleep guard, but you also put together a variety of other types of things around it to create a whole program. So, what is that program called? And walk us through what's in that program.
Yeah, so the program is called the Wake Well Program to a Better Night's Rest. And the whole program is focused on providing a interdisciplinary way of approaching sleep. And I think a lot of people talk about sleep like, oh, how many hours of sleep do you get? How dark is your room? How much are you eating before bed? There's very superficial things we can talk about when we talk about sleep. But then there's also deep, deep things that we talk about in sleep. For example, how we treat sleep. And then we can also ask what sleep does for us, what it really does for us. What does sleep mean for us? What does the relationship with sleep do for us? And so, something we see is that a lot of people they they live and then they go to sleep, and when they go to sleep, they take all their garbage with them, and they're like, all right, like I'm all stressed out, so let me go to sleep and let me sleep it off. It's like having, if sleep was a person, it's like having that person take out the garbage. Well, if we keep doing that, then we're abusing sleep and really not taking care of sleep. And I think that if we do that too much, we start to get poorer and poorer sleep. Poorer sleep meaning sleep stops giving back to us. And so that's a bad relationship with sleep. And so it's like, how do we recreate that relationship so that we have a healthy relationship with sleep, such that sleep gives us more and gives us more than we ever expected to give? So that's the program encompasses a lot of these other aspects of the mind. How does our mind work? Where do our thoughts go? Why do we think so much before bed? How do we stop ourselves from thinking? How do we feel good about going to sleep? How do we wake up early in the morning and actually want to wake up early in the morning? Well, it's a practice of how we do things right before bed. That really sets us up to actually be excited about the next day. And that helps a lot too. So there's a lot of other things that we discuss and we explore in the program that really makes a difference. And not only makes a difference for sleep itself, but about how we live our life and wake up well. We want to wake up well so we're already set up for the day and so that we do the day in the most spectacular fashion.
Well, I like the basic starting point, which is the name. Wake Well, is that the name?
Yeah,
Wake Well. It's not even sleep something, it's wake well. And I kind of like
there's
that.
no sleep about it.
Yeah, it focuses on the outcome that we want right up front. I want to wake up well, which means I got a good night's sleep. So that's I love that name. I think it's really cool. When you think about sleep, there's all kinds of different parts to it as you're talking about. One of them is, what does my mattress look like? What does my pillow look like? Do you get involved in that, or is that outside of what you particularly do?
Those are really important questions too. And I don't really get involved with the actual picking of the mattress and the pillow. I think that there's something for everybody, and different people have different opinions about what's comfortable for them. I do have a workbook where we go into those and we explore the things that are uncomfortable. For example, if we have a sore hip or we have a sore arm, how do we get around that? How do we be in a position that's conducive to healthy sleep? And if we do a sleep test, we do have these sleep testing units where we can test people and their positions in their sleep. We can find out which position is the most optimal for a specific individual.
Hmm.
And so we can make suggestions about what works for people, and we can make suggestions on what kind of pillows might work if certain pillows are not working. A general pillow tip is you don't want to have a pillow tip. You don't want to have a pillow that is too big for you. You don't want a big pillow. I always tell people you want to maintain at least 5 fingers of distance between your chin and your chest. If your neck is crunched up like this, you have a big pillow that's got on your neck crunched up. You're essentially bending a straw and closing up your airway. You're going to collapse the straw that leads gives you oxygen.
Now, that's a good tip in and of itself. I like that. Now, the question that every person gets in their head as they get older is, why is it when I was young, I could sleep in any position, anywhere, on a chair, on the floor, in a bed, hanging upside down, halfway off to bed, and I would wake up just fine. And now, if I twist just a tiny bit, everything gets screwed up and I can't move the next day. I want to know why that is. I want an answer to that question.
That's a fantastic question. And there's a lot of different ways I can answer it. So like I said before, there's three different ways that we think about it. So sleep can be mechanical, could be a biological, medical issue, it could be a psychological issue, or it could be an environmental issue. If it's a sleep issue, a biological issue, there may be something going on in your body, especially with old age, that may be affecting your sleep and may be causing you to not sleep deep into sleep. You're not getting the deep sleep that you want to have. See, when our bodies is our my bo when our bodies are able to relax and there's no problems, there's no inflammation, there's easygoing sleep, and we can sink into sleep, and we're supposed to knock out and not remember anything until the morning. Those are the really good nights when we go to sleep and we don't toss and turn. There's nothing that hurts. But if we don't get that deep sleep, we're in that twilight zone, that light sleep area of the night where we're staring into the back of our eyelids. That's when everything, all the pains and and neck aches start to get bigger and bigger. And that's not a fun place to be. And
No,
so
it's not. Another question I have for you. A lot of times people talk about taking pills to help them sleep. And some of the pills are from the pharmacist, some of the pills are from a natural food store, but there's supplements. What's your thoughts on that? Do you have supplements that you think help people sleep, or is that something that you don't think is necessary if you do all the other things.
Yeah, so I think supplements have their place. Some people have so I would always use supplements and pills as a last resort because it's like a supplement. It's something in addition to what we have. It's like a band-aid. It doesn't solve the problem at the root of the issue. And so we like to look at whether or not there is a biological issue, whether or not there's a nutritional issue, and whether or not there's a psychological issue first, because those are usually the main factors that affect sleep the most. We get the bulk of our sleep there.
Now, sugar is a problem across everyone, everywhere, it seems. Is that a big hindrance of sleep, too much sugar?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So what happens if we eat too much sugar right before bedtime? We get a sugar rush right before bed, which lasts about 3 hours. And when that sugar rush crashes in the middle of the night, we might, if you eat a lot of sugar, you might feel like a food coma, and you might feel like it might make you sleep a lot better. And yeah, you will feel a little bit drowsy and tired, and you're gonna sleep a little better. You're gonna fall asleep a little bit better. But halfway through your sleep, you're gonna get a sugar spike that drops. And when that sugar spike drops, your body goes into alert mode
Mhm.
and the sugar cravings come up despite you being asleep,
Oh.
and you actually end up coming out of deep sleep and staying in the light sleep area for a couple hours. So if you eat food and you eat a large meal or you eat some sugar right before bed, you're essentially taking out a good 2 hours of your sleep.
Now that's impressive to understand. I know just for me, if I don't, if I manage eating towards the end of the day, so I'm not eating too much too late, or even eating anything after a certain hour, and especially staying away from sugary things, I know it helps me sleep better, just that one simple thing. But that thing's pretty hard to do because you always want to snack at night.
Yeah, so if you do want to snack at night, you can snack. I'd suggest you can use a little bit of a protein snack, a little bit of a high protein, a little bit more of the high on the fat index is a little bit better for you. So something sugary like a candy bar um, uh, or even some fruits can be pretty high in sugar content. Whereas something like a beef jerky, a little bit of beef jerky, that could be pretty good for you.
Now, Fred Flintstone, he used to eat a big steak meal at night and then have nightmares, so they didn't let him eat that. Is there any connection to reality about that or no?
I don't know about that one. I eat a big steak dinner myself and I sleep pretty good.
All right, so that one's just a cartoon.
Probably.
All right. All right. Well, this is interesting. The concepts of sleep, it's so important. I think people know it's important, but they don't recognize how important it is. Maybe that's a way to say it.
Yeah,
And then so many people don't realize there's probably something you could do about it. And so even if they're not sleeping well, they're not looking for a solution because it's not necessarily something that they know the machine, but they're thinking, I ain't putting that thing on my head. I'll never sleep like that. And so they don't know that there's other options out there, and it keeps people from finding solutions. So, how do you try and get out there and help people know that you're around? Today's a good example, and I hope you share some little video clips from this to let people know that they
absolutely.
can get help. But how do you try and get your name out there and get people to understand that there are options that can help them?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm doing a lot of education. And so one of the reasons I'm working with Paul here is because he's been so helpful for unlocking my voice. And so I've realized that my voice is so important to help other people understand what's going on. And think I have a very unique perspective about how sleep should be tackled. whereas other people have a very singular and isolated approach to sleep. It's either pills or it's the CPAP machine or it's surgery, but they don't talk to each other. And my role in it is that I want to be the medium that understands what all these procedures do and understand that they have their place, but only if other things are resolved first. And so I'm out there on social media. I'm out there on Instagram. I'm going to be on YouTube soon. We're making a lot of content to educate people more about sleep and how to tackle it. It is not an easy thing to tackle, and I really care about people getting the most out of their sleep. And so I'm bringing in as many great people as possible. We're going to have a podcast soon. You can find me on Instagram at Everest Sleep, and you'll be able to see me talking about sleep.
Now, where's Everest Sleep come from? Where's that name come from?
Well, that was an interesting name for me. I look up to Jeff Bezos and the way he's built his organization and he's built Amazon to such heights. He's helped so many people, and I saw Everest as like and he named it Amazon because Amazon is the largest river, and Everest is the highest peak of a mountain, and it's got a funny name, Everest. So it's always going to be the it's going to stay there and rest as the largest peak.
That's a great story about your name. So now I love Everest Sleep. Is that it? Everest Sleep?
Yeah,
And then I also love Wake Well. So you got a great story about both of those.
absolutely. Yeah.
Those are
I,
great.
we're- I'm a storyteller, and I love stories because it's what matters in a life. It's the story of our adventure through life. And sleep is what empowers us to be able to live our story.
It sure does. Anybody who struggles with sleep and is listening to this is going to call you or reach out to you. Now they're going to go to Instagram and find you there, and that's how they're going to connect with you.
That is right. That's where I'm
Instagram, and
active most.
they're going to look for Everest Sleep at Everest
Hmm.
Sleep on
Hmm.
Instagram. Okay, good. And there'll be a link or something they can click to contact you or DM you or whatever it is.
Hmm.
Awesome. Awesome. If everybody knows if they have a sleep problem, boy, they'd love to solve it. They'd love to solve it. Is there a timeline that you think you can help people solve their sleep in, or is it just dependent on the situation?
It depends on the situation. So the one I have a client that's been with me for over a year and a half now. And in the beginning, he was pretty overweight, and now he's lost about 60 pounds. He started dating again, and his life's completely changed. So it can vary from the shortest time that I've treated somebody is about 2 to 3 months. So it could move very quickly, depending on the complexity of the case and what else is going on. Some people have had sleep issues for such a long time that their body is basically traumatized. And so we have to slowly unwind that. And it takes a lot of time. And there's a lot of patience involved in it. And so I can never really tell, I can't guarantee what might happen along the way. It just takes time. And I'm always a resource to those people that I commit to who want to work with me. It's a partnership inside of sleep. It's not a same methodology with anyone. It's very different for every single person, especially because every single person wants something different from their life.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is you being a dentist and trained as a doctor and all that sort of thing give you a special leg up on people who are selling a CPAC machine?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that if someone out there has a CPAP machine, I've got something to put out there for you to understand is that the CPAP machine is actually an end of life supporting device. It's you see these machines on people who are very old, who have lung cancer, COPD, serious respiratory illnesses, COVID-19. These machines are meant for serious conditions. And we haven't had a solution other than CPAP for sleep apnea for a very long time. And so this is the only solution that's been given to people. Research has shown that long-term use of the CPAP machine causes dependency on the CPAP machine. So you get lung inflammation, you get respiratory diseases, you get pneumonia more easily, and your muscles of your breathing start to deteriorate because you're not using your own muscles to breathe that night. So you can actually have some neurological issues that start to come up if long-term CPAP use. So it's not a good way to do it. And so luckily, dentists are specifically trained, especially if they got through the specialist training that I have been through, to open up the airway with an adjustable mouthpiece.
I didn't know all those things that you just said about the CPAP machine, so that's also very interesting. I'm learning a whole bunch here today, so this is good. All right, what else? Do you have anything else that you want to share with people? That last part was really good. Any other comments that you want to make?
Yeah,
Any other
so we
topic?
talked a little bit about pills earlier.
Mhm.
And the way I like to describe it is if you go to a neurologist or a psychiatrist and you tell them you're tired, they'll probably give you pills. If you go to a surgeon and you tell them you're tired, you'll probably get surgery recommended to you. And if you go to a regular MD, you tell them you're tired, they'll tell you to get a CPAP machine. And so understanding that pills in particular are especially treacherous because there's no actual sleeping pill out there. There's no sleeping pill. There's anti-anxiety pills. They're all anti-anxiety pills. And so they help you forget things and help you put yourself into a daze so that you forget that you have sleep apnea. In fact, if we test people on sleeping pills, their sleep apnea actually gets worse. They suffocate even more. They just forget that they did. And so they sleep through the night and they think they have no problem, but their health is declining even more. And they're becoming even more dependent on the sleeping pill because it's making their sleep problem worse. So for everybody out there who has sleeping pills, I highly suggest get yourself a sleep test first and find out if you have a sleep problem. If you have a sleep problem, then you have a mechanical problem in your body that you might have inherited, or there's something going on. And maybe you fix that first, and maybe you just don't need pills.
That's a great suggestion. Final thought to leave with our audience today. What's the final thought that you want to leave with folks?
Yeah, so the final thought is I love this new idea that I created. And most people sleep to live, like we talked about earlier. They take out all their garbage into sleep and they sleep to live. When the reality is you're gonna have a whole lot of a better time if you live to sleep. If you live your whole day in preparation to sleep, you get everything settled. You're feeling good about your day. You're feeling good about what you are doing, and you just live to sleep. Your sleep is going to give you back so much more, and you're going to live and live and live. You're going to feel a whole lot better.
That's awesome. Well, Henry, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I think the audience is going to love this session. You have so much knowledge in sleep, it's unbelievable. I think we just like tapped the very surface of everything. Again, tell people how to reach you. Instagram, we're at Instagram.
Everest Sleep at
Perfect.
Everest Sleep on Instagram.
Ever rest, sleep.
Yep.
I love that. Awesome. All right, Henry, thank you so much. And folks, thank you for joining us again today. Again, I'm Coach Paul with PR Vocal Coaching. If you are interested in learning to make your voice your greatest asset, just head over to my website and you can set up a discovery call with me or learn whatever it is you'd like to learn there on the site. If you're interested in learning more from Henry, which I highly suggest, just head out to Instagram, Everest Sleep, and you'll find him. I think if you have any issues with sleep, finding Henry's going to be a great thing for you. All right. Thank you so much. And I just want to make one more comment. As you watch this, go ahead and click the little like button. It's free to click the like button, and it's a big support. So if you can do that, we would love that. And till next time, bye for now.